So today I am responding to the claim of fact that legalization of marijuana would benefit the United States. My opponent's secondary claims that I will be responding to today is that legalization would help reduce the national debt. The legalization would help reduce crime rate and lessen drug trafficking, and it would result in more effective law enforcement. His first secondary claim was that legalization would help reduce the national debt. The advocate claims that legalizing marijuana would help the national debt. However, it actually would not help the debt very much. The opponent states that legalizing marijuana would bring in about $100 billion, which really hardly amounts to anything because our national debt is constantly growing. According to USDebtClock.org, as of this morning, our debt was at $18 trillion, which continues to grow by the very second. Alcohol cost totals are over $185 billion, while federal and states collected an estimated $14.5 billion in tax revenue. Similarly, tobacco uses costs over $200 billion, but only $25 billion is collected in taxes. This could be compared with marijuana. I highly doubt that legalizing marijuana would bring in the $100 billion that my advocate was claiming. Marijuana is conducive to productivity, meaning that it would result in a lack of work from a large amount of people if recreational marijuana use would be legalized. Marijuana also introduces many users to poverty and reduce economic prosperity. Its use creates mental as well as physical impairment. Employers do not permit its use in most work environments because the user is more prone to errors and accidents. As a result, this would create a lack in the workforce, not resulting in any revenue in our country, thus not really helping our debt at all. My response to his secondary claim, which is that legalization would help reduce crime rate and lessen drug trafficking. My opponent only mentions one example that was provided in Denver, Colorado. They only experienced a 14.6 decrease in crime last year in 2014. However, only one example does not really justify the entire United States, which they would experience as a whole. Marijuana has been found as a pathway to consume stronger, more addictive drugs such as cocaine and heroin and meth, which is also known as the gateway theory. By legalizing marijuana with the gateway theory in effect, this would not lessen any drug trafficking, but in fact increase drug trafficking with more types of illicit kind of drugs, which is oftentimes stronger than marijuana itself. Dr. Ed Gojic, a medical doctor from Arizona, published in his medical blog online that he often asks his addicted patients if they've ever been arrested for anything they did clean and sober, and the answer is almost always no. That's half of all crime, and it covers every type of crime, from shoplifting to murder. Marijuana is the drug most often linked to crime in the United States. Jill Karofsky, the White House Director of National Drug Control Policy, said a study by his office showed that found a strong link between drug use and crime. 80% of the adult males arrested in the crimes in Sacramento, California last year tested positive for at least one illegal drug. Marijuana was the most commonly detected drug, found in 54% of those arrested. With that being said, making his claim reducing crime rate and lessening drug trafficking invalid. His third secondary claim was that by legalizing marijuana, it would result in a more effective law enforcement. My opponent mentioned that by legalizing the recreational use of cannabis, there will be more time and money spent to pursue criminals for other crimes, including those of violence. However, many crimes of violence have a direct link with drug usage. Nearly all addictive drugs, including alcohol, which is currently legal, cause crime and violence, and almost all the crime in this country is drug and alcohol related. About half of the crime is simply from people who are drunk and high, and as a result do violent things. This is called the pharmacological effect. Child and domestic violence almost always fall into this crime category as well. Most murders do too. Once again, the gateway theory comes into play. By keeping marijuana illegal, some police believe that marijuana possession arrests provide a unique opportunity to capture dealers whose sales of heroin and meth are ravaging many U.S. communities with hopes of eliminating violence, which I would say is considered to be an effective means of law enforcement.
Professor Mm-hmm.
Can we turn off the lights? There's some bees and scaring a lot of people.
Sure, turn off the lights.
Then when they just